Do you want to learn exactly how you can follow up with your database in real estate when you have nothing to say? That's what we're discussing today. My name is Michael Montgomery. I'm the host of Rev Real Estate School, and today we are talking about how you can follow up with your database or your sphere of influence when you don't necessarily have anything to say. Now, to kick this off, oftentimes we overcomplicate our database and we think that we need the exact right script. Now, when we're talking about our database or our SOI, really what we're after here is a connection. And when we're approaching these conversations, we actually don't even necessarily want them to be about real estate. More frequently than not, the conversation will drift towards real estate because whoever we're talking to understands that we're in real estate. It's important to understand that when we're approaching these conversations, we are not approaching with a mindset of real estate. Now, with that said, what if we want to reach out to people, we want to follow up with them? However, we know that they may be thinking of selling in the near future, but even they don't know. How can we identify these people? Well, we call this the 10 Ds. Now, these are 10 different things, all starting with the letter D, that will highlight certain types of people that may be thinking of moving. So let's first dive into those. The first D is divorce. When there's a divorce, there's a chance that somebody or two people may be moving. The next one is degrees. So anybody who has finished school or is going back to school. These are two reasons why people will move. The third one is desk. And so desk speaks to anybody who's gotten a promotion at work. So if they've gotten a promotion or they've changed jobs, there's a chance that that person may be looking to move. Not only because potentially their income has gone up, but also if they've changed jobs, they may be working from a different location. The next one is dogs. And yes, when people get dogs, they think about moving. They think about bigger yards. They think about living close to dog parks. So dogs is the next D. Next, we have diamonds. So when people get married, they decide, hey, maybe it's time for a bigger house. Maybe they're thinking of kids down the road. And so diamonds is the next D, which leads into the next one, which is diapers. So as soon as children start entering the picture, these people may be thinking of moving. These are other people that we may want to reach out to. And in fact, we can very easily reach out to these folks because we have something to congratulate them on. The next one is dumpsters. Now, dumpsters, what this speaks to is if you were ever to drive by a client's home and you see a dumpster out front, there's a good chance that they are remodeling. And when they remodel, potentially they're thinking of staying, but they could also just be wondering, what's the value of my home? If you've ever seen that TV show, Love It or List It, there's a perfect example of dumpsters. When people have dumpsters out, they're thinking about real estate. Next, we have death. So if there is a death that occurs or there's a sickness, oftentimes those folks do need help with their real estate. The next one is difficulties. So difficulties speaks to if somebody was to say lose a job, unfortunately, or something was to happen that required them to have to move. Maybe they had to move closer to family. Maybe they had to leave their area. And so anything speaking to difficulties is another reason why people may move. And finally, we have downsizers. And folks that are just getting to be that age where, hey, maybe I don't need this massive house anymore and I'm looking for a condo. So if they're starting to reach that point in time in life, then downsizers are another type of person that you may want to reach out to. So all of that being said, these 10 Ds, these are certain reasons why people will move. So if these items are coming up in their life, if you're seeing these sort of things on social media, or if you're hearing through the grapevine that somebody just got a job promotion, you probably want to put them on your list of people that you may want to follow up with. But you remember from the very start here, we're not following up with anything real estate related. So if we're not following up with anything real estate related, why are we following up and why are we reaching out to our database? Well, we need to be reaching out with a couple of mindsets here. The first mindset is, of course, curiosity. And so we just need to be genuinely curious about what's going on in their life. We need to be curious about how's this promotion going? How's this new job going? How is it having a newborn in the house? How are you liking having the puppy at home? So these sort of conversations, we want to become deeply curious about how they're doing. And this then speaks to the next mindset, which is detachment from the outcome. Now, this is absolutely key. The reason why we say detachment from the outcome, it's not because we don't care. Instead, we care so much that regardless if they're looking to buy or sell, or hey, maybe even they have a close family member that got into real estate, so they're talking to them now. We are detaching ourselves from the outcome. So if we stay curious and we stay detached from the outcome, what's going to happen is something extremely magical. We are going to have a great conversation with somebody who feels like a friend. And this is all that we need to understand when we are talking to our database. We need to be speaking to them like friends. And that comes from curiosity, true, genuine curiosity, and detachment from wherever that conversation goes. So you may be thinking at this point in time, well, this is going to be awkward. I haven't followed up with this person in 3 years or more. Regardless of the time, there is a lapse. And within that lapse, there came some resistance. We are resisting to reach out to them. Now, what I can tell you is this, and this comes from experience, and this comes from talking to tons of agents. The first 15 seconds is all that's going to be awkward. If you can get over the first 15 seconds of this phone call or your other means of reaching out, you are going to have a great conversation. But here's the thing, most real estate agents will not put up with the 15 seconds of awkwardness. And because they won't put up with the 15 seconds of awkwardness, that client may go use another realtor. So we're not going to let that happen. We are willing to actually go through the 15 seconds of awkwardness because our financial future depends on it. Now, as real estate agents, this is part of our job. And this is actually what makes our job not for everybody and makes it challenging at times, is because not everybody is willing to have that 15-second conversation. Because understand, on the other side of that 15-second conversation turns into a really great conversation with this human being about what's new in their life. And that is what we're going to get to next. So as we're jumping into scripts here, again, it bears repeating that we're not going to break into these conversations asking them if they're thinking of buying, if they're thinking of selling. The reason for that is if it were me, and let's say it was my electrician calling me, I don't want my electrician to call me and say, hey, do you need any electrical work done around your house? I want my electrician to call me and see, how am I doing? And these sort of conversations are extremely natural and they're enjoyable. And if you think about it for a second, there's probably been some service provider that's followed up with you and it hasn't felt salesy, and that's because they've truly cared and they've asked you how you're doing. Now, all of that being said, if we are reaching out and we know that one of these people identify with one of these 10 Ds, so potentially they might be thinking of moving, so we do want to bring up real estate. How do we go about doing that? Well, there's a very simple script. Do not lead with this, but at some point in time in the conversation, all you have to say is, have you been following the real estate market? And that's it. So if we just say that, that is then the bridge into talking about real estate. And then we're basically leaving a thread there and let them pick it up and take it where they'd like to go with it. So if they change course right away, if they change direction because they don't want to talk about real estate, that's fine. I'm detached from the outcome. All I'm interested in doing is being curious and understanding where they are and what's new in their life. But if we do ask that question, if they've been following the market, from there is where we can start getting into real estate. And then of course, we need to be coming to that conversation with market information in case this conversation does turn towards real estate and transacting. That is the first thing to keep in mind here, is we're detaching from the outcome, we're staying curious, and you're going to notice as we're jumping into some scripts here, none of them are really about real estate at all. But if we do want to gear this conversation towards real estate, that is an extremely effective, low pressure approach. So let's dive into some scripts here. Now, these scripts will work for both text message and phone. If you have to choose one of these two, choose the phone. Now, what I can tell you is this, from watching a ton of real estate agents and knowing a lot of successful agents use the phone even when they don't want to. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, this is going to be too uncomfortable to call all of these people, start with text messages, but give yourself one person. So if you are reaching out to, say, 5 people, ensure that at least one of those is a phone call. And then you will slowly start to become more comfortable with these phone calls. And keep at the back of your mind that top producing real estate agents, they talk on the phone. Now, why is this effective? It's because we can convey emotion. It's because we can dig in deeper. It's because using our tone of voice, we're actually able to create a deeper connection with somebody. And it's also more memorable. That's the other key here to the phone, is it's more memorable to get a call from somebody than it is to get a text message. However, if it's going to be between you texting and nothing, then definitely text. So let's jump into some scripts, and these are very straightforward, very simple. Again, we can use them on the phone, or we can also use them over text. And what we're after here is low friction. So we don't want this to be a challenge for us. We don't want to have to come up with the perfect script. Instead, all we're doing is we're inviting a conversation. And the first one goes like this. Hey, so-and-so, it's Michael Montgomery calling. I know it's been a while. Just wanted to give you a shout and see how you're doing. Very, very simple. And this can also be adapted to text. The second one, equally as easy. Hi, so-and-so, it's Michael Montgomery. Just calling to see how you've been. Just like that. And from there, they're then going to jump into the conversation. So we're going to have this 15 seconds of just uncomfortableness. And then from there, what they're going to do is they're going to tell you what's new and you're going to dig deeper. And you're just going to turn this into a great conversation because again, we're staying detached and we are staying curious. The third one, and this one is real estate related. You say, hey, so-and-so, it's Michael Montgomery. Hey, I was just showing homes in your area and I thought of you. Just want to touch base and see how you're doing. Very simple. And now we're tying this back to real estate. You're saying, hey, I was showing homes in your area, or hey, I was at a listing presentation in your area. And that then sparks the conversation. So we're using that as a way of bridging ourselves into the conversation. The next one is what we call the seen heard. Now, when we are making this call or sending this text message, when we are relating this back to the Ds, we want to be sending this text message or phone call when they are the positive Ds. So we do not want to be reaching out and congratulating them on their divorce. That's not necessarily the approach we want to take here. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to see something on social media or you're going to hear something from a friend of a friend. And it's a very simple text message or phone call where you're saying, hi, so-and-so, it's Michael Montgomery. I saw/heard that you got a new job. Just wanted to congratulate you. How has it been? And so here what we're doing is we are using other bits of information that we can find around. So maybe it's on LinkedIn, maybe it's on Facebook, maybe it's on Instagram. So it's on social media platforms. LinkedIn's a good one, especially when you see a promotion. That's a great opportunity to reach out. And you can use vacations as an opportunity to reach out too. Hey, I saw you were in Mexico. Looked like a great trip. How have you been? The final one is a little bit more personal, and I really like this one. This one works best as a text message, and basically all we're doing is we are sending them a photo and we're saying, I saw this and I thought of you. So this can be a photo, this can be a link, this can be a house in their neighborhood. You can send this to them and say, hey, I was thinking of you. How have you been? So we're using something that we find that reminds us of that person, and we're sending that to them and then saying that it reminded us of them. And that's what sparked this conversation. So this works great over text, but honestly, this can work wonderful over the phone too. Now, if we want to use this one by way of the phone, typically what we suggest is using the nostalgic approach. So if you were showing a home and it reminded you of them, you can say, hey, I was just showing a home that looked exactly like yours, reminded me of you. Just wanted to reach out and see how you're doing. So there's another really good approach. And so we can use this by sending a photo or sending a link, or we can say we bring up some sort of shared memory with them over the phone and something that reminded you again of them. Now, what about some additional strategies beyond phone and beyond text? What else can we do? Well, another thing that we can do just to start sparking the conversation is social media, of course. And so when I'm trying to spark that conversation, I'm starting with a comment. I'm starting with a comment on some post that they have had. And this then reminds them of me. And so this commenting approach works extremely well. You can also jump into the DMs, but I find if it's been a while, usually what I'll do is I'll comment on a post and then I'll probably give them a call or a text in the next week or so. So I'm kind of letting them know that I'm still around, and then I'm calling and following up with them the next week. I'm not referencing the comment or anything like that. I'm just basically jogging their memory. And then from there, I'm making the call or sending the text message. But there are some other strategies that we can do. The other one I love is video email. Video email works extremely well. And oftentimes you will get a response because it's different, it's interactive, and people like it. And it is also very personalized. So I'm not sending mass video emails. I'm sending one-to-one video emails. Typically, when I'm sending a video email, I am advising them of something. So maybe it's a sale in their neighborhood. Maybe it's a new listing in their neighborhood. And then what I will do in that video email, I will explain, hey, the reason for my emails, I just wanted to share this with you, and I will then provide a link to it. But then I'm always asking a question in the video email. So I'm asking, how have you been? Let me know. And then from there, you're actually starting the conversation. Now, in an ideal world, we want to take the video email or email in general, and then we want to turn that into a phone conversation, coffee, lunch, something like that. So what I'm doing here is I am taking the email or video email and then converting it into another way of communication. We do want to get as live with them as possible. Face-to-face is as live as you can get, but then there's phone. And then after that, it's usually text message. People are back and forth over text quite quickly, and then we move down to email. So the longer the delay, the less effective this tends to be. And if there's a longer delay like email, then I want to turn that into something that is more live, like a phone call. Finally, let's say that you want to reach out to this person, you don't know what to say, you don't want to send them an email, it's just been a while, and you'd rather do something different, and you'd rather kind of mix it up. Well, this is where you send the handwritten card. And you can send a great handwritten card, you don't have to put anything in it, and you don't have to go over and above. But I find that if we are targeting these people, so if we're coming back to those 10 Ds, so we're targeting somebody who we think, hey, potentially maybe thinking of moving, maybe they don't even know that they're planning on moving, but we have an understanding that they could be planning on moving because that one of these Ds has been checked off. Then I will send the handwritten card, and usually I'll put a little something in there. I'll send a coffee card, I'll send a little gift card, something like that. Or I will ensure, if I'm not doing that, that it is a very nice personalized note. And that goes either way, whether there is a gift card in there or not, I'm still making sure that that note is extremely personalized. Now, the purpose of this is then, of course, it will very likely elicit a response, and then we can continue that conversation. But what's very important here is coming back to the very first thing, which is we are not making this about real estate. We are truly trying to figure out how this person has been, what's new in their life. And then if it turns into real estate, great. And if it doesn't, not a problem, because we're detached from the outcome and we are truly curious about what is going on in their life. This is how you can start a conversation with anybody in your database, regardless of how long it's been since you last contacted them. Thank you very much for catching this episode. Remember, you can reach out to us anytime at revrealestateschool.com. If you're listening to this on a podcast player, understand you can jump on over to YouTube, jump into the comments. More than happy to continue this conversation there. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next lesson.